Okay, today we'll start Ayin Dalet, Amud Aleph. We'll start with Amar Abdullah Bar Abba. It's about 17 lines from the bottom. And it's in the middle of the line. Thank Hashem that you're able to learn every day. So we're learning Hashem. There's some English immediately. Unfortunately, my father. Okay. It goes like this. Amar Abdullah Bar Abba, Amar Ula. So this is a little confusing because it repeats the name. It says Amar Rab. This is someone else. This is Rab Ula Bar Abba. It says in the name of Ula. Ula doesn't have a honorific. It's just called Ula. And I guess he was great enough to be that his own name. And Amar Rabbi Lazar said the name of Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar was the great teacher in Eretz Yisrael after Rabbi Yochanan. It was Rabbi Lazar ben Pedas. So this is his statement. He says, "I'm a kaddish b'milva ubal." Someone marries a woman by telling her that she does not need to repay a loan that she had taken from him. Instead of giving her money, he forgives the loan. But then he has relations with her. So there was a kedushin by forgiving the loan, and then he has relations with her. Now it turns out that kedushin by forgiving the loan is not a valid kedushin, because he has to actually give her something, not just tell her that she doesn't have to pay. So when he has relations with her, what we're seeing now is that maybe those relations is a new kedushin, or maybe he thinks the old kedushin is good. We have to see what the halacha is. Or al tonight, he married her, he betrothed her with a condition attached, the ball. Then he has relations with her. Let's say the condition was that she doesn't have vows. Or he gives her that ring. Remember the cigar ring that didn't have value. Came from the gum. The ball. And then he has relations with her. And again, everyone says that's a good marriage because he was so sure that the first marriage isn't good that the relations was the actual betrothal. Okay. And therefore he requires a divorce in order to be separated from her. He doesn't need to get divorced. If he's going to get divorced, he needs a document. It's because it's a marriage. Amar Rab Yosef Bar Abba, Amar Rab Menachem, Amar Rab Ami, Amakadesh B'Pachim Mishav B'Pruta Bal Tzrichem and again. Rab Yosef Bar Abba, name of Rab Menachem, name Rab Ami. Let's just say Rab Ami. Rab Ami is arguing on Rabbi Lazar, and he's saying that this only applies to one of these cases. Which case? If he uses less than a Shava Pruta. Why? Because less than a Shava Pruta is so clear. Over there, he knows he's not making any mistake. He knows that it wasn't valid. And therefore, the relations was for the sake of Kedushin. Because he knows the first one wasn't good. Aval Bahanach, but in those other cases, by Makadesh B'Milva, or if there was a condition over there, he doesn't know all the laws of Kedushin. So he thinks the first marriage is good. So therefore, when he has relations with her, he's relying on the original Kedushin, which turns out wasn't even valid, so he's left with nothing. Amar Rav Kana. So in other words, the machlekes for Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Lazar is if we have three cases where the relations would be the marriage, if you only have one. Rabbi Ami says you only have one. Mekadesh Pachim Mishav Pruta. It's less than the value of a pruta, a small coin. According to Rabbi Lazar, he says that there's three cases where it would work. Rabbi Ami disagrees with two of them. Okay. I'm going to kind of misread the Ula, Mekadesh al Tanaya, Bal Tzrichem and again. Rav Kana says in the name of Ula that someone that marries, betroths the woman with a condition, but then he has relations with her, so then he requires a get. Said this was a story. It says that it was actually a story. And the sages did not allow them to separate unless they had a get. And this is coming to exclude the following example, which we've quoted before. And it goes like this. It's coming to exclude the following author of a brisa. It says like this: the name of Rabbi Shmuel. If a woman has a extramarital affair, right? Not the man. The woman has this relations with another man, and it says that she wasn't raped. So then that's a problem. But if she was raped, Muteris, then she would be permitted to back to her first husband. If she wasn't raped, she's prohibited. If she was raped, she's permitted. But there is another woman, even if she wasn't raped, she's still permissible. It says, this woman wasn't raped. That's why there's a problem. But it sounds like that if there's another woman, there's another scenario where there's a woman that wasn't raped and she's still permissible. How is that possible? Because the whole marriage was a mistake. She was never really married. What happens now? She's carrying her son on her shoulder, which means that she was married for years. But the whole marriage was based on a stipulation that was never fulfilled. She can walk out of that marriage saying that there was a mistake in the marriage. She just walks out without a get, which means she was never really married, which means that her extramarital affair was not really an affair because she was never married, which means that she can go back to him, to her first husband, even though she wasn't raped. She was never married, but now she's actually getting married, and it's perfectly fine. It was not first husband. Right. Yeah. Now, what we're saying now is that we're excluding this opinion. We want to say it not like this opinion. Why? Because that opinion said that whenever they have relations, it's all based on the original marriage, which was a mistake. The opinion that we're saying now that when they have relations, they're redoing the betrothal that had a condition on it, and they're making a new betrothal just from the relations itself without any condition. And so now they're actually, according to this opinion, they're actually married. And they need a divorce, which means that this woman's in trouble.
What does it mean by
No, it just means that she's been married for a while. And she even has children. And she's just walking out of the marriage because there was a stipulation in the marriage that was never fulfilled. Yeah, well, it's not discussing that detail. It's not discussing that detail. There is a father here. There is the husband, which turned out is a non-husband. Yeah. Morning. I sent out a message. I'm sorry because of slichas. We called it for 5:15, but I just started 5 minutes ago. I sent it early this morning. We have to stop at 6. We'll start at 5:15. We'll stop at 6. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just finished Ayin Dalet Amud Aleph, and I'm on the top line of Ayin Dalet Amud Beis. It's about 17 lines or something. Tanur Rabbanan started in a brisa. This is what we had in the back of our mind the whole time when we were listening to this Gemara the last few days. Is that why doesn't she just go to the Rav and be mataneder? I mean, save her marriage, right? So here, this is what we're saying now. Let's say she goes to the Rav. She explains to the Rav that she had took this vow and it was a mistake, and she regrets it, and she has a reason why. Something that had she known this and that, she never would have taken that vow. And the Rav says, mutalach, So if that's the case, then even though the husband stipulated that I'm only marrying you on condition that you don't have, I'm betrothing you, on condition that you don't have any vows, she doesn't have any vows. The Chacham took it up. She's married. Next case. Eitzel Reife Veripaisa. Let's say the husband married her on condition she doesn't have any blemishes, but she does have a blemish. So over here we say different. Eina Mekadesh. We say she's not married. Good morning, Ramesha.
Good morning. Good morning.
We started a little earlier. I sent out a message, but I sent it early this morning because of slichas. So I'm holding on Ayin Dalid Amad Beis towards the top. We started Ayin Dalid Amad Aleph, and now this is where we are. So we just made a contrast between if the woman gets rid of her vows by going to a chacham, or she gets rid of her blemishes by going to a doctor. If she goes to a chacham and gets rid of her vows, then we say that, okay, even though the husband stipulated that he's only marrying her that on the condition that she doesn't have any vows, well, now she doesn't have any vows. But if he married her on condition that she doesn't have any mum, and then she goes to the doctor and gets rid of the mum, the blemish, the marriage is not good. So what's the difference? The same, he got rid of it. What's the problem? The answer is, well, the Gemara asks, Ma bin chacham l'reifi, why is there a difference here? The Gemara says, chacham ma'ikir sanedem mikari. The chacham takes away the vow in a way that it was if it's retroactive. It was never there. But the doctor only heals from now onward, which means if she had a blemish that she wasn't disclosing to him, and he married her, now she goes to the doctor and gets rid of it. But at the time of the betrothal, she had the blemish, so it wasn't a valid betrothal. If the guy made both, if he made both stipulations, right? If he made two, we're talking about two different people. This guy doesn't want a wife that takes vows. This guy doesn't want a wife that has blemishes. We're talking about both of those scenarios. Okay. The problem is we have a contradictory brisa. Eliezer, we started earlier because of slichas. You've been saying slichas probably since Rosh Chodesh, but Rasa Ashkenazim. Okay, but Tanya, but we have a brisa Eitzel Chacham v'Tira Eitzel Reife v'Ripa Yiseinim Mekudeshes. We have a brisa that contradicts the first brisa, the Tana Rabbanan. The first brisa was the Tana Rabbanan. It says that there's a difference between the Chacham and the doctor. The Chacham, it works, gets rid of it retroactive. Now we have a brisa that says it doesn't work by the Chacham either. When she annuls the vows, it says that the marriage is not good. It's not good by the doctor. It's not good by the Chacham. The contradiction. Amar Rava Leikash. Rava says it's not a problem. Ha Reb Meir, ha Reb Elazar. Machlekes Reb Meir and Reb Elazar. Reb Elazar must be Reb Meir's friend. Reb Elazar ben Shmuel is a student of Rabbi Akiva. How does this work? Ha Reb Meir damar adam reitzah shetispasish to be bezdin. We're going to see how this comes out. But what we're saying right now is that a person doesn't mind if his wife goes to court and gets rid of her vows, according to Reb Meir. And according to Reb Elazar, he would never want her to have to go to Bezdin and stand there. Bezdin means like to go to the rabbi, stand there and stand her. One second. We have certain types of vows that the husband can annul without her going to the rabbi. He can do that on his own. What type of vows are those? Anything that's inoi nefesh. She's not going to eat meat or something, or possibly, according to it's machlekes, but possibly if it's things that are between themselves, matters between themselves, he can annul the vow. All right. So, but there's certain things that he cannot annul the vow, things that don't matter to him. If she takes a vow about something that's not, she won't text her friend or something, I don't know, whatever it is. That has nothing to do with him. So, but he doesn't want her to be someone with vows. So in order for it to get rid of that, he can't annul it. She has to go to a chacham to. Okay.
Yeah, but that's for this.
So we're going to see what type of mum it's going to be an issue. We have to see that soon. Now, but what happened is we have a contradiction regarding the darim. So we say, well, one is the opinion of Reb Meir, who says that he doesn't mind if his wife goes to the Rav, and that's why it's going to be acceptable. And one is the opinion of Rebbe Lazar, who says he doesn't want his wife to go to Rav. It's not acceptable. So Mahi, how did this all start? Where's this from? I think the day that he hears about it, I don't remember what Allah. Does anyone know? Can he annul a vow from before the betrothal? When he hears it, I don't think so. I think she had vows prior to that. No, she had vows prior to that. He can't annul that. Only annuls that. Only vows that she makes while she's under his. Yeah, she would have to go to the Rav. So Mahi, how did this start? Tanan. We have a Mishnah that says like this. Now the Mishnah has one little twist in it, as you'll see in a second. Someone that divorces his wife because she has vows. It's not that he only married her on condition. He married her without a condition. And then he decides that he can't handle all the vows that she takes. He decides he's going to divorce her. Now, the rule is, if that's the reason, if that's the grounds for divorce, it's her vows, lo yachzer, he should not marry her again. Why? Because we don't want him to be quick to do this. Because what really may happen is she may end up marrying someone else. And he may say, had I known that you were going to get rid of the vows, then I never would have divorced you, which that makes the divorce sort of like on condition, which means that she was never really divorced. And then if she marries someone else, that's going to mess everything up because now she was never divorced and she's married someone else. So what we say is, once you divorce, because if it's because of vows, you can never get remarried, which means that there is no retracting on that sort of divorce. You cannot regret that. You cannot go back and say that that's a final divorce. There's no okay. The same as Mishum Shemra Leyachzer. Also, if it's because she has a bad name, what does it mean? I guess she's doing misbehavior or whatever, and he finds out that she was really innocent. So if that's the case, then she's possibly going to get remarried to someone else, and he's going to say, "Had I known that you were really innocent, then this." If that's his grounds for divorce, then it has to be final. We don't want any divorces that are going to end up coming back saying, "Okay, it wasn't a real divorce." Okay. Who says this? Rabbi Yehuda. That's the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Kol Neder Sheyeda B'Rabim Leyachzer. Rabbi Yehuda says that only a vow that cannot go away is the real vow. It's a vow that everyone knows about it. It can't be annulled. That's the vow that you can't take her back. But Leyed Barabim, but if it's a vow that could be annulled, Rabbi is not concerned about this issue. He's not concerned about the issue of maybe she's going to end up marrying someone else, and he's going to say that I never really divorced you. He's not concerned about this. He's just concerned about the strength of the vow. If the vow is a vow that could be annulled, then yachzer, and he could take her back. She can annul the vow and take her back. Reb Meir says it depends. If it's a vow that he could have annulled, then he's allowed to marry her back. But if it's a vow that only the chacham could annul, then that is lo yachzer. He shouldn't take her back. Now, Reb Meir actually has this concern of that he may say, had I known that the rabbi could get rid of the vows, I never would have divorced you. He didn't know. Where Meir's concerned that he may show up and say, I didn't know that rabbis can take off vows. So therefore, after the divorce, and she could be remarried, he can then say, you know what? That whole divorce was on a mistaken assumption. So Rameir says, too bad. That's what Rameir said. But in the other case, where he could annul the vow because it was Dvarim Shebeinai or Inui Nefesh, was the type of vow that he could have annulled himself. So for that we say he's allowed to marry her back. Because what are we going to say? He should have annulled it. He didn't annul it. If she gets rid of it, however she gets rid of it, he can, or if he decides he wants her back, then he'll marry her back. It's nothing that he didn't know. There's nothing that we're concerned about. Right. Right. Well, this is according to Reb Meir. It can always be annulled. Right. Let's skip the parentheses. Amar Rabbi Lazar says, La Yasru Tzarech Elam Mipnei Sheina Tzarech. Rabbi Lazar says that there's a gzeira. That really, when the woman needs to go to the Chacham, we said that she can't get remarried. But the reason why she can't get remarried back, that's because of the original case of where vows that he could have annulled. It was exactly the opposite. The vows that, according to Rabbi, the vows that he could have annulled, that's the real problem, because he would say, if I knew that I could have annulled the vow, then I wouldn't have divorced you. And therefore, we make a gzeira even on vows that he can't annul. Now, 1 second. The basis of this, which the Gemara is going to spell out, I think, but the basis of this is what really Rebbe Lazar's opinion is that he's not accepting the logic that if his wife was able to go to court to the best, then she could have annulled the vows. He's not accepting that. Because he holds that that's such an embarrassing thing that his wife should go to court to get her vows annulled. It's not even an option. So why is that a case where we're concerned, where maybe he's going to say, had I known that was a possibility, I never would have divorced you. According to Rabbi, he says that's not actually what's happening. Really, what's happening is, had I known that I would have been able to annul the vows, I never would have been divorced you. And as a gzeira to that case, we say also the Besdin. But Reb Meir says directly that had I known that you could go to Besdin. So what's this machlekes? Reb Meir holds, had I known that you could have gone to Besdin, I never would have divorced you. Rabbi Lazar doesn't say that. The difference is, Rabbi Lazar wouldn't have wanted her to. But Rabbi Lazar thinks that a husband doesn't want his wife to go to Besdin. That's embarrassing. And Reb Meir says, no, it's fine to go to Besdin. Back to we had a contradiction between two brises. Is it acceptable to go to a chacham to take off the vow? The machlekes Reb Meir and Rebbe Lazar, according to Rebbe Lazar, even if she goes to the chacham to take off the vow, Rebbe Lazar would have said that it's embarrassing for the husband that his wife is in best. Rebbe Lazar would have said that it's still not a good betrothal. Yeah. Better, because he takes it off the Ikara retroactive. Husband only stops at your what? Yeah, but there's a stronger annulment of the husband. And then the road goes back, right? Yeah, we have to wait for the next step for that. But basically, what Rabbi Elazar is saying is that when he married her, he did not, when he betrothed her on condition that she doesn't have any vows, he's not accepting the solution of her going to a Rav to get the vows annulled. He finds out later that she has these vows. Right. Right. You're asking what that one of the cases was that vows, right? No. You see, what's happening here is it's confusing. There's two cases. One is when he betrothed her on condition that she doesn't have any vows. Another case is that he's married her and she has all of these vows, and they're married. He didn't make any stipulation before, but now he just can't handle the vows as grounds for divorce. He's divorcing her because she has these vows. Now the question is, can he remarry her after the divorce, saying that had I known that you could have gotten rid of those vows, I never would have divorced you. So those vows he could have annulled on his own, some of them, because they were made after they were married. And now we're taking the logic from that case. Does he want his wife to go to court? And we're taking it back to the original case we're talking about when he had a condition, a stipulation in the betrothal. Does he want his wife to go to court? Did he have that in mind, that that's a possibility to go to court and get rid of it? My time with Rabbi Yehuda, what's the reason for Rabbi Yehuda? That a vow that's made that everyone knows about can't be annulled. The Ksiv, like Hikum, Bnei Yisrael, or Hikum, Bnei Yisrael, Kinishbal Lehem Nesiyeda. Talking about the Gevinim, they tricked Yeshua. Remember? They said that they were from some other nation, and whatever, and here they are. And Yeshua told them that made an agreement with them. They became the water carriers. So the problem was that why they couldn't kill them then was because they took a vow in public. Bakama, what's considered public? Bakama Rabbim, I guess. What's considered public? It's three people. Yomim is Shnaim, we quote the drasha by the Zav. It's 2 days was Yomim, and then Yomim Rabbim, right? Rabbim was Shleisha, was 3 days. So Rabbim is Shleisha is three people. That's what we're doing over here. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar Asara, because it says Eda Ksibu, it says an Eda, we know that an Eda is 10 people. So it was a vow that was taken in public. Gemara called it a vow that's known by the public. Probably means that it's taken in public. Okay. Meir says that any vow that needs to be annulled by the Chacham, he should not return. He should not marry her back. Because we had the Kilkula, we had the problem that he may say, had I known that you could get it annulled, I never would have divorced you. That was going to mess up the divorce. Rabbi Lazar okay, but my commitment, what's the machlekes between Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Meir? Rabbi Lazar's view is that only vows that he could have annulled is the problem. But we made a decree on that to the other vows as well, that a chacham needs to annul. So in the end, according to Rabbi Lazar, you can't marry her back for any vows. And my commitment, what's the machlekes? Rabbi Meir, several other mates said this passage they be bestin. Rabbi Meir holds that a person doesn't mind if she goes to the Chacham to get the vows annulled. Rabbi Lazar Savar, another Mitzvah disposition to be best, and Rabbi Lazar holds that a person doesn't want her to go to bed. And that's why his problem was the other types of vows that he could have annulled. Okay. Rava goes back to answer the original contradiction between the two brises. One says that a Chacham can annul the vows, the other brisa says, well, the Chacham can annul the vows. The question is the stipulation on the Kedushin still in effect when the Chacham annuls the vows? Rava says, it's talking about an important woman. He says, what's going to happen now I can't have a wife that takes vows. That was his stipulation. And I also don't want a divorce. Because if I get divorced, I won't be able to marry your mother or your sister. So he really doesn't want so how does it say? It's just talking about he doesn't want the marriage at all. He wants the marriage totally to be off. But let's say he goes, he marries her on condition that he doesn't have vows, or he doesn't have any blemish, and then he goes to the Rav and he gets it annulled. In that case, we say that they are married. Listening ain't a mikudeshes. We should really teach it that they're not married. And Valema Hachabadam Chashavaskin and Damra, she says, I don't want to be forbidden from his brother and his father or whatever because of the marriage. Here we're saying that it's not valid because he doesn't, it's two things that he or she doesn't want. He doesn't want to be married to a woman that took vows. And he also doesn't want the marriage to take effect if that was the case. In other words, it's not just that he doesn't want the vows. He wants that the marriage shouldn't take effect if that was the case, because he doesn't want to be forbidden to a relative. Well, the Gemara says, but what's this contrast between him and her? So just let's finish this. She's willing to be married to anyone. And that's why if he had the problem, so she's willing that the marriage should continue. Rish Lakish says that a woman would rather be married, would have two bodies than to be a widow, which means she wants to be married to anyone. So she's willing for that. Abaye Amar the Shum Shemana Gavra, if the husband is like a worm, Kursi Becharsa Ramala, she'll still put her chair amongst the married women and say, well, look, I still have a husband. It's any sort of husband. Even if the husband is like a weaver or a spinner of thread or something, he's a comber. He combs the wool. She'll still call him to sit. She'll still call the husband to sit next to her, and she'll still be happy. Any husband is good. Rav Ashi Amar the Kalsa Gabra, if he's a low husband, a low lineage, I guess. She won't even ask him for beans for the soup. It's taught in the Brisa that the reason why they want a husband is because they want to be mizana, and when they become pregnant, everyone's gonna say, well, where's that baby from if they're not married? So they say, well, at least they have any husband that they could blame their pregnancies on. Okay, let's leave this over here. I don't want to slichas. Mitzvah Shem tomorrow, 5:15. Okay.
Got